Hello everyone, this is Roger with Dabble, and today we're going to see how to add a simple prompt to our bot to ask for some information. Specifically, we're going to start off with our Echo bot, the Rajbot 5000 from prior demos. And that's very exciting that it echoes content back to us, but let's do something a little more fun and actually have it ask us for a name and then answer back with that name. So we're going to start off with the existing code here, and I'm going to jump right into the bot.js file here, and we're going to start making some changes, and I'm going to talk about those changes as we go through those. So one of the first things that we'll need to do is add some additional requirements here. So right up here, we need to uh, add another npm package here called bot builder dialog. So don't forget to go into npm npm I and do the bot builder dialogues. There we go. I've already done this and it's installed everything, so I'm going to skip that step for right now. But if you don't get that, it's going to complain that these aren't available. And then we're going to set up a few other things for our property accessors here. And go ahead and set these up here. All right, so what is all of this stuff? We're just setting up some constants here. We're going to use a dialog state accessor that we're going to set up. Talk about that in a minute. And we've got a couple of prompts for the username, who are you prompt, and the hello user prompts here. And then these are just setting up constants so that we don't have magic strings in our code and we can use these constants and get some compile time checking. All right, the dialog state accessor is what we're going to use to save our dialog state so that it can keep track of where we are in the conversation, whether the conversation has just begun, whether we've prompted, or whether we've responded. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to do too here is we've already got a conversation state, which is what we were using to store the counter variable from the prior examples. And this one we're going to add something specifically per user, right? So ideally we want each user to remember their name, or we want the bot to remember each user's name. So we're going to add a user state in there. And we're going to need to also fix up the constructor to initialize that. So let's do that. All right, so we're going to now use our conversation state to create a property for our dialog state accessor and set that up using our constants up there. We're using the count property from our prior example, and we are also using our username as a property here. Okay. Now the next thing that we need to do is to create a dialog set, and a dialog set manages a set of dialogues and the interaction between those. So let's start off with creating that. And we'll do all this still here in the constructor here. And so we're initializing our dialogues to a new dialog set, and we're passing in our dialog state accessor there so that it can maintain the state of the dialog set. And then we'll go ahead and add a prompt here. And this is our text prompt. Right, so this was going to be our name prompt here. And then we're going to create a little dialogue underneath this. And this is going to add our waterfall dialogue. A waterfall dialogue allows us to keep track of multiple steps, and the multiple steps are essentially like a stack. So the very first thing it's going to do is going to place, when we call this dialogue, we'll see some code to activate it. It's essentially going to put that on the active stack, and then we get a response. We can get that response back and read that back off the stack. So what we've assembled here is we've got exactly that. We've named this one the who are you for our waterfall dialogue here, and we've got our name prompt. So both of these are attached to our dialog set we set up here. And we're setting up some local properties here, right? Our ask for name, we're binding to this, and collect and display name, we're binding to this. We will implement those a little bit later on. And we're also going to add just one more here so that we can display user information after we have it here. So we've got another waterfall dialog for the hello user, and we're just setting up a binding over to display name. So you might be saying, well, where are all these bindings and what are these for? I'm going to go ahead and add those in next. These are just other methods. So I'm going to pop these in after the constructor. So this is the ask for name. It takes a dialog context as a parameter. And this is where we're just going to initialize the name prompt. What is your name, human? And that's tied to this step up here in the who are you. Okay. Then the next one here, this is the collect and display name. So I'm going to grab this, put that over. This indentation is driving me nuts here. So this takes a step, and inside of this step, we're grabbing the step context and the step result, and then setting our username property. And then we're sending our context back using our send activity. And then we are then ending the dialog there. And then just the display name one, which we can use after we've already set this information here, is this one, right? So this is going to actually go in here and grab the username, and assuming that it's actually set here, right? Then it can display, your name is and the username, and then it ends that dialog. So that's setting up this display information here. And if we're going to be wanting the voice version of this too, that remember the first argument of the send activity is just the actual text. If we want it to be spoken, right, then we want to put that in there so we can send it as text and also speak it back as well. So that's the setup of the dialogue. So what do we need to do in our turn context to change this around a little bit? Well, let's go ahead and, okay, so inside of here, we're going to go ahead and take our current context, assuming we're in the activity type message, and we're going to get a hold of our dialogue context here. And then we're just checking to see if we're in the current dialogue, and if we are, if the current dialogue hasn't responded, then we'll just continue. And then if there's no menu, right, if there's no response, this is where we're going to go in here and figure out if we got our username. And if we did not get a username, we just got a null back here, then we're going to begin the hello. If we did get it back, we're going to begin the dialogue. Who are you? And then don't really need to send this echo stuff back. I'll just kind of get in the way. And okay, so here's our conversation events. What is your name, human? Roger. Got it. You are Roger. Hi. What is your name? Now you might notice that it's actually not keeping that stored. We would think from the logic that we wrote that it would grab that again in the in-memory storage. And it certainly is, but we actually missed a line of code to do that. So let's go over there and see where we should have put the code to actually save the change. And right down here, we are saving our changes to our conversation state, but we forgot to save the user state. So let's launch it again here. And we'll start this over. And mistype Roger and mistype Joe, but you get the point, right? So now we've got. Now, even if we start this over, it's still going to retain that because I haven't actually restarted this process. But if I hop back over here and restart the in-memory store because that's stored per user. Um, then when I come over here and start over, then it can, it'll take a new name. And there you have it. That's creating a simple prompt and storing that information in the user context and displaying it back. Thanks a lot, everyone.